And we are joined in studio by my friend Trevor Thrasher, the man-at-arms. That's what I refer to him as. Trevor, if you want to learn more about Trevor, or you want to learn from Trevor, Trevor, of course, now has ThreatProofLife.com. And there are not a lot of people that I would put in the category of credible when it comes to personal safety, when it comes to what's going on in the world domestically or internationally. Trevor, we've talked about this on the show many times. Trevor, retired U.S. Army Green Beret police officer and contractor for some other government agency. Was that, by the way, was that other agency the Department of Hot Air Balloons?
Yes. we actually use.
Wait, let me get some volume right there. Okay.
Yeah, we actually use hot air balloons with cameras on them quite a bit to defend bases in Afghanistan.
Oh, okay.
So I'm certified to run those too.
And it screws my joke. So thanks. Anyway, Trevor Thrasher with us today. Trevor, after yesterday, and we were just talking about this off the air, yesterday we had 2 terrorist attacks in the United States in the same day. And in the last couple of weeks, what have we had? Had 4, Trevor?
Yeah, we've had 4 major, what I call ideologically driven attacks within the United States since the Iran affair.
So yesterday, I didn't see any of these media know-it-alls bring up the fact that it was 2 in one day. Usually it's for lack of a better term, a one-and-done thing. And early on, when this conflict in Iran kicked off, we were wondering, okay, people are saying sleeper cells and things like that. And at first I thought, nah, probably not. Now I'm wondering if I need to really keep my head on a swivel these days. What do your instincts tell you, Trevor? You've been in danger pretty much most of your life.
Yes. Well, I did a quick threat assessment on it, which kind of, lays out a risk based on probability and then the consequence of it. And I felt that for most people, most listeners, average person, their major risk is going to be the ideological attacker, for sure, 100%, just like we talked about. Number 2 would be some type of cyber warfare that could affect them. Number 3 would be a targeted attack, maybe an assassination on U.S. soil, targeting a military base or a political target. And then lastly, we have the sleeper cells that we have to worry about. Extremely unlikely, but extremely, nearly catastrophic if it does occur, because it will change our way of life, just like 9/11.
Well, for example, the Old Dominion attacker, some were saying that, well, this guy did it have anything to do with the attack in Iran? And then today it comes out that apparently this guy in Michigan who plowed into Temple Israel preschool had family in Lebanon that were killed in an Israeli airstrike, and people believe that's what finally set that guy off.
Well, the bottom line is this is ideological violence. They do not need a specific tie to Iran or even to Lebanon or wherever else Israelis are fighting, everybody around them. They don't need that particular tie. The only tie they need is that they equally hate America. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend, which is a old standing, Arabic saying, and It's 100% true. And it's really true in all cultures. And that's what they absolutely mean. So they don't need it. They just need a trigger or an excuse for their hate. This isn't somebody that just, I lost 4 family members. He was otherwise normal and decided to go launch an attack. All that stuff is rigged.
So what kind of mindset, has your mindset changed in the recent few weeks?
I'm telling you, I am at a little bit of a heightened state, and to the point where I had a conversation with my wife, and I said, basically, if you're going in with our kids, you're going to do your best to be armed. You're going to carry some medical gear with you. And I honestly think that is just the bare bones kind of preparation people need to make. Now, look, whether you're armed with a firearm or can be armed with something, that's separate. But it's the mindset that I have to be a little more aware. And if something happens, I have to be able to take charge of the situation, just like we saw happen in several of these attacks that were averted or ended very quickly because of the actions of the people right there. It is irresponsible to walk around in America, especially during this time, and to not have sat down with your family and discuss some basics and how to deal with active threats and how to prepare yourself for other events like this. It's like first aid. It's like learning to drive a car, CPR. You should have these things done. For example, like how many of your listeners have taken a Stop the Bleed or serious trauma medicine class? And these are easy classes, a couple hours. You have the skill kind of for life if you refresh it, but it's something that could absolutely be life-saving and critical. And people won't pull their head out of the sand long enough to go, oh, I better spend 2 hours on that. I'd rather flip through Instagram for half my life instead of take a class on how to save my family's life.
There's a lot of cool stuff on Instagram.
Well, I'm guilty as all, but I do the other stuff too.
Right. So we got St. Patrick's Day coming up this weekend, and I know a lot of bar and restaurant guys listening are going, no, now wait, hold on, Chris. But this makes for a very target-rich environment for someone who hates America and who wants to do something horrible. You got bars that are going to be full of people, even more than they already are. You got a parade coming up on Tuesday. You know, when you say that you're irresponsible if you don't talk to your family, what are some of the things that you would say to your family? Like, say, just going out this weekend. Like, I'll be talking to my boys before, tonight when I get out of here. And that's one of the things I'll be talking to them about.
Yeah, I kind of have a system in place. I call it the Tactical Twos. It's based on special operations planning. And it's absolutely applies to just about any event, especially a type event like St. Patrick's Day or Christmas parade or whatever. And it basically stands along the lines of having 2 basic plans for alerting, for running, hiding, fighting, and providing aid afterwards. And you can kind of work out a lot of those plans so they're a default or an SOP. So our initial rally point might generally always be our car. But if you're out at one of those events, pick another rally point. So if you get separated, where you can all meet up and get accountability for each other. When it comes to alerting, you want to have overt and covert words to alert the family members you're with. And an overt one would be like simply, screaming red alert or run to the car. And a more covert one may be something where, you use your loved one's middle name, or you say, hey, condition orange. And that means they got to get their head up and look around. And that might just give you a few vital seconds where they snap out of whatever they're doing and they look around for a potential threat, and they're able to react quick enough to do something about it. Same thing for hiding, 2 places to barricade or safe havens to get to. And when it comes to fighting, you got to look for some improvised weapons if you can't carry them on you. And then 2 places where you can find medical aid. And you should always have a medical kit in your car, a serious medical kit, not a Band-Aid, G.I. Joe Band-Aid kit.
Right.
Something to stop serious.
When you're talking about a medical kit in your car, what's in that medical kit? Oh, he's pulling one out right now.
Well, at a minimum, you want to be able to stop serious bleeding. So you want to have a tourniquet or 2, something to pack wounds with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really it. Like, if you just get to the level where you can do direct pressure, wound packing, and put a tourniquet on somebody, that's going to solve most of the things that you can solve to prevent death in the near term. Mm-hmm. And so something like that. And those kits are very small. You can put them in your ankle. You can carry them in a purse or a little bag. It's not a big ask. If you go to a special event where there's some special risk, you should elevate your preparation just a little bit. And you know what? Enjoy yourself. Have fun. 99% enjoy the fun. 1% in the background, you're running your security plan. That's just what a responsible person would do.
It's a Chris Baker Show. Trevor Thrasher's our guest. Phone number 402-558-1110. You can also email the show, chris@kfab.com, or don't forget the talkback line that is available on the iHeart app. Little microphone in the corner. You just punch it, tell us what you got to say, and it'll automatically fire it right here to the studio. Well, Trevor, I wanted you to come in today because I just think there's so many different things about what's going on in Iran and just what's going on in our country, because not only do we have to worry about these imported terrorists, we can call them, but when it comes to the hate America ideology, we're really getting to a point where domestically, I think that's becoming a huge problem, where American kids, young kids, are just being, barraged with anti-American rhetoric. And I think we're reaching a really bad point.
Yeah, I think there's no real difference between a homegrown terrorist cell like the one that we saw attack the Border Patrol facility in Texas. A very complex ambush that they executed, not very proficiently, thankfully. But a group of people got together and decided, hey, let's wage war against Border Patrol or ICE agents. So that's just as dangerous almost as an actual terror cell here. Now, the terror cell, if there is one here, is going to be professional, and it's going to be a lot more damaging. Look towards the Mumbai incident as an example of that. And again, that would change our way of life. But people are homegrown to hate their own country. And we have a big problem with that right now. And that's why I'm going to start a new plan called the Bring Back Banishment Plan.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sorry, Australia, but we need somewhere to send them. But
That's not all old prison colony anyway.
Well, look at the attacker in one of these instances who attacked the ROTC students, was also subdued and stabbed to death by them pretty quickly. But there was one loss of life there, other than the attacker. This guy had already been convicted of supporting ISIS.
Right.
He convicted. Why is he in my country? Do you want him around your children? We need to do something serious about this. This country is going to fall apart if we go, oh, but our principles. Your principles do no good if they don't exist. They do no good if they don't exist. You've got to have practical principles that deal with this. And I'm not going to let somebody who's convicted of terrorism, and these terrorists have an ISIS magazine where they tell terrorists how to get in cars and mow your children down. Somebody that supports that kind of stuff living amongst my children, I'm not happy about it. We need to do something about it.
Yeah, that guy, he was sentenced, I think to 11 years, I think the Trump administration wanted him to get 20. But he ended up with 11, and then he got out early from that.
There's no amount of years that makes me happy. He should not be in this country. We should find somewhere to send him. I don't care if it's an island like in the movies. Australia, I don't wish that upon them. Somewhere. Some country will take him.
Maybe back where he came from.
Somewhere. You can't live with these people and think, oh, my principles, and then as they exist day to day, thinking and plotting how they can kill you and your family.
All right, Chris Baker, Program News Radio 1110 KFAB. Our guest in this hour is Trevor Thrasher. Trevor, retired U.S. Army Green Beret, war fighter all the way, domestically as a policeman, and even as a
father and husband.
There you go. Okay, we'll leave that other one out. Peyton is human. Trevor is human. Trevor's superhuman, actually. That's the way I look at it. But anyway, all right. So Trevor Thrasher's in studio with us right now. And we're talking about, we had 2 terror attacks yesterday. We got a big going out weekend starting today. So we want you to think about some things before you head out. Real quick, let's get a phone call. Anthony is on News Radio 1110 KFAB. Hello, Anthony.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, Chris, first I want to say welcome back. You were one of my favorites. I was so disappointed when you left.
Well, you're very kind, sir. Very lucky.
Welcome back.
Very blessed.
Hey, I'm going to pause with what Trevor said. I'm a former military guy, did 20 years in the Air Force. I worked with nuclear weapons over in Italy. Out of time after September 11th, where they forbid us from wearing uniforms to protect us going to and from work. Now my son, who is in ROTC at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, is being told no longer wearing uniforms on campus, and it's basically because of heightened awareness for possible threats. So people need to understand that even in good little old Nebraska, there are threats, and people should be aware of stuff that's going on around us in regards to heightened sense of awareness and the possibility of stuff happening in our state.
All right. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Thanks for the service, too, Anthony, and best to your son.
Yeah.
Trevor, how about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your service. And honestly, thank you for your son's service, because I know anytime a family member deploys, you kind of deploy with them. And say that about my wife as well. Yeah, that's really scary. So we start to talk about things like the changes in our lives we have to make to accommodate our principles for these other people that we know shouldn't be here. And that's why I have a huge problem with things like that. But it's not just ROTC students. Of course, they should be concerned about that. And in the military, we call that force protection, right? It's not really fighting the enemy. It's how do you protect the force from other type of threats. In the civilian world, we really don't have such a thing. But in truth, you do. You are your own force protection for your family. So when you do certain things or belong to certain groups, you've got to be able to protect yourself from these type of internal threats here. But also, when I was coming here, there's a news story that popped up about somebody trying to get into an elementary school with a gun and a uniform asking about security.
All right, this was not in our top of the hour news, but we had the 2 attacks yesterday, and then an armed man walked into an elementary school in Texas. So what are the deets on that?
About the only details I got is that he slipped in during the 15-second window when a parent left before the doors auto-lock. But he was stopped relatively quickly. They confronted him. He asked some questions about security. I think he was trying to feign being a security guard and maybe just got caught. And they called their actual armed security very quickly. So they're lucky that they had people that stopped and that were paying attention. They're lucky they had their own armed security and didn't end up in a gunfight. And the guy took off in his car and was captured later. And the other thing that really brings up right there is understand that the reason why you have to look out for your family security is because there's going to be a system failure or a human failure that allow these things to happen. So if you look at Uvalde, Texas, it's like one door accidentally left open is all that it takes.
Right.
In this case, a 15-second window when a human slipped out before the door lock, that system, failed. So either people are going to fail or the system's going to fail. And that's why I'm really big into establishing baselines for your capability as a family and understanding that you just can't depend on those things. Yes, we're happy when they work. Yes, you should utilize them, but you got to have something to fall back on. And sometimes it's almost a spiritual thing for you and your family to keep them safe.
Now, I read about this story before I came on air, and if I'm correct, that guy was armed. He walked in there with a, tack vest, gear, firearm.
And he was an Iraq-born U.S. citizen as well. So I don't know what the ideological motivation is. I don't know if he's crazy, but I mean, when you open up the floodgates and let every crazy person in here with no real ability to do a background check.
Right.
Well, how can you vet half of the world? I mean, half the world isn't literate, and people don't realize that. They always think it's just like the United States, but somewhere where they speak a different language and their food's, probably. And that's not the case. A large part of the world's really relatively illiterate. And there's plenty of, mentally insane people all over the place.
Well, but that story right there shows. And you're right, and there's no need for me to repeat everything you just said. Now, I've known Trevor for a long time, and we've discussed, and Trevor has done multiple deployments over to Iraq and Afghanistan, and you worked with people over there. You fought alongside Muslims over there. Let's talk about their capabilities, their heart, and their determination. They're not like us. Right? I mean, they're not like Americans
when they get ideologically motivated, first of all, they're used to hardship, right? So they're very hard, tough people, and they can endure a lot. Look at Afghanistan. Afghanistan has been invaded by everybody throughout its history. And somehow those people are still willing to fight and essentially defeated us after 20 years. And it's because of their heart and their will and their ability to sacrifice themselves. So an individual life doesn't mean as much to their cultures as it does to ours. So when someone is willing to ideologically sacrifice their life, you've got to take that person seriously. You've got to respect that level of commitment. And that level of commitment is rarer and rarer within the United States. If you ask people how many would consider defending this country, and I can't remember the study, it's going to drive me crazy, but they did a study and asked people, would you be willing to go to war if an actual country invaded America? And there was a massive percentage of people that said no.
What?
Look it up. Somebody should pull that up right now while we're talking.
Oh, Peyton's looking for it right now.
Yeah. So would you actually defend your country, even if it was attacked by another country? I'm not talking some foreign war, generally for politicians or the military-industrial complex, like the ones I fought in. Actual wars where you're under extreme threat.
Right.
And people are still not willing to protect the United States.
Well, it's funny, as you're saying that, I'm thinking back when I was a kid, we grew up, we played Army, right? And it was part of our mindset that someday we would be doing that. And I wonder if most younger people today, that they came up in that mindset.
Well, not at all. And you look at the percentage of people that could even serve in the military now, it's less than 50% of the population. And I'm talking the military age population, less than 50% is eligible to even serve right now. So why do you get to enjoy all these freedoms and there's less than a 50-50 chance that you're going to be able to do anything about to protect them? You're just going to depend on other people to risk their lives to do it, like these military members who have lost their lives and are risking their lives every day right now in this conflict. But, go about your day, enjoy your Starbucks, whatever, complain about something on social media. So, yeah, when I look at people in those countries, like they're a little more desperate, they're a little more driven, they're hardened, and they have a belief system that will drive them to be homicidal and suicidal. And if you don't respect that, you're going to run into some problems very quickly.
We run into a big problem judging others by our own standards.
It's a massive problem.
I think that, and I think personally that infests the body politic, because I'm watching as this Iran conflict, I'll call it a conflict, goes on. I'm already watching where politicians are already moving to, the president doesn't know what he's doing. He's operating like a 2-year-old with toy soldiers. And all this crazy rhetoric that I know is not true. It's not true. And frankly, regardless of party, a president has war fighters that are advising him. And I don't think that today that they're going to give him any, they're not going to say to him, well, maybe if you give him a Starbucks gift card, Mr. President, I think that might help. I think that presidents always have access to really good advice.
I disagree. As someone who's responsible for looking for the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, I disagree with that. And seeing how the war unfolded in Afghanistan, where general after general was telling people, hey, we're winning, we're doing great. And they would always provide these metrics that were absolutely senseless. Like, well, here's how many Afghans we've trained in to be special operations. You're like, no, you just lowered the standards and declared everybody special operations. So your numbers look better when you brief the president, right? But what you didn't cover is the X percentage of the terrain outside of the major cities is controlled by the Taliban, and it gets worse and worse. So they never present a metric like that. So I have little faith in our old school generals. I think they were brought up in a time where they were trained to be politicians and trained to be risk averse, and those are the exactly wrong type of people you need in the military.
Wow. Oh, boy. Well, this conversation is just going to get better. It's a Chris Baker program. Trevor Thrasher with us. If you would like, Trevor's got a book, too. He got a book out.
Yeah, you can get on Amazon, The Everyday Defender, and it's for everybody, and it's not particular towards concealed carry or anything like that. But I basically have some principles in there related to mindset, awareness, avoidance, readiness, tactics, and skill. And it covers some basic things you should know, some basic principles. Then it's almost like a workbook. There's examples of things you actually should do with your family, and they're made very simple. There's easy opportunity training exercises in there, where it's something that just pops up. You can practice with your family.
And
And
I like that.
Yeah, and there's QR codes and links to videos. So it's a
excellent
class in a book.
Excellent. Learn some more about how to threat-proof your life. Just go to threatprooflife.com. That'll do it right there. So, Trevor, before we went to the break, you were talking about a survey you read about what percentage of Americans would actually fight to defend their country if we were attacked. And Trevor found that poll, so let's go through it.
Yeah, compared to people that would leave the country if we were attacked. 45% of men between the ages of 18 and 34 said they would stay and fight.
45.
Only 45% of men that are fighting age. Now, as people were older and got polled, they were more likely to stay and fight. Also, when you look at political affiliation overall, 68% of Republicans say they would stay and fight, as opposed to 40% of Democrats.
Wow.
So if you look at a Democrat youth percentage there, I'll bet you it's down in the 20s or 30% that would actually fight for this country.
Wow.
So that kind of goes back to where I talk about you can have your principles all you want, but if you don't have some practicality behind it, your principles will no longer exist because these people would just give up on them and run away.
Wow. Oh, boy.
The majority
yeah.
of fighting age men.
402-558-1110. John, hi, you're on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
Hi, gentlemen.
Hi.
Yeah, I was in basic training at 17 years of age, so that kind of lets you know if I would fight or not. But I just want to let you know, Mr. Baker, SF, if there's only one SF that I know of, and that's Green Beret. They're the best. They're the best instructors. They're fantastic teachers. They're highly intelligent. I don't know if you realize what you got sitting next to you there. They're the best.
Oh, I like this guy.
Yeah. What is your brother calling
I
the
paid
show?
him. No, my brother would not say that about me. You'd be like, who's this idiot you have on your show? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I will say all of our special operations are absolutely world-class, best in the world. The Green Berets are consummate teachers. That's kind of what we're known for, interacting with foreign forces. We have other missions we do as well. Everybody's got their place. I don't care if somebody's a cook, a transportation specialist, man. I just humbly serve my country, and I appreciate anybody that takes any risk for it.
Wow. So why do you think these people don't want to fight, sir?
Why? I think, I keep up with music. I keep up with culture. I was born in the 60s. I'm just kind of a free-thinking person. I was a medic, and I still game. I'm pushing 60. I can game toe-to-toe against kids in their colleges. I'm talking about on PC, online, around the world. My reaction time, which is bizarre, is just as fast as theirs. Don't know why it is. And as a result, they like me. And so they talk to me, and they talk to me over the internet, and I can pick their brain. And I'm talking about young people all over the world. I've told this story before. Out of 1 million people ranked this game called Battlefield 4 Rush, best game ever made, I was ranked in the top 50 in the world. And I'm an old man, go figure.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is, these young people, they see corruption. They see it in the news. They go online and they'll see decades and decades and decades of corruption. They lose heart. They lose hope. They think they're not being represented. They see high debt, and they think the country doesn't support them. And that's a big, big issue.
Wow.
And I think that's I'll leave it at that.
Well, you know what, sir? You bring up something actually we started talking about yesterday, and that is, we got to be a country worth fighting for.
He's absolutely right. I mean, there's two sides to that too. Like compare us to most other countries, and you'd see that we have less corruption, but we see it every day. The news stories coming out of Minneapolis about all the fraud in the billions, and I'm like, why should I even pay my taxes to this government? Well, that's a whole nother subject about how I feel our government's been pretty much worthless for the last 100 years because we've gotten away from our principles, not in a practical way. We've just grown the size of the federal government, grown the size of state government, and our principles of actual Americans is very small government. It's about being a rugged individual, and it's about beliefs in freedom and the free market. And if you get counter to those principles, which we have done, then things run pretty rampantly downhill.
Wow. Yeah, we were talking, this came up yesterday, and I'll try to make this brief, but, you look at these guys, for example, the guy that attacked the Temple Israel and the guy that attacked Old Dominion, you, I think, nailed it when you said they just hate America. Well, frankly, we've given people good reason to hate us.
Yeah,
right? I mean, we spread, our leaders, not us, but our leaders have allowed corruption to flourish. And when we're, put up as an example, what do they use as an example? Some kind of deviance or hot wifing or, that's the new thing now. You heard about that?
No, maybe I need to research.
All right, no,
that.
you don't. You don't want anything to do with it.
Well, my wife's hot, but I don't know
That's
where the
true,
rest of
me
that goes.
too. But we don't want to get in that.
Okay.
Just don't even waste your. My wife never listens, right? So she just pops in once in a while just to make sure I'm still here. And she said, "You were talking about that, and I'm driving down the road, and I'm trying to look it up on my phone, and then I look it up on my phone, and I'm like, oh my." Anyway, but we do need to be a country worth fighting for. And
100%. So it's not like they're trained to not like the United States, to kind of hate its principles and think that they're all failed. And the truth is the failure of our principles has been intentional, right? So that's, you fight communists every day. And really that's one of the things that they try to do is get all those systems to break.
Right.
All the welfare systems, just getting to the point where we break the bank with all these great ideas that shouldn't be involved in government, should be involved in private businesses and private organizations. And then you got to ask yourself, what do you put in the place of that ideology? So you teach them to hate what's here, and then you get them to accept something else. Well, how damaging is a violent Islamist?
Pretty
damaging, right?
Yeah.
So is that really what you want as the alternative? So we got to find our space in between those two.
Yeah.
Some things aren't working, but that's certainly not the answer.
All right. Chris Baker program more with our good friend Trevor Thrasher next here on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
Chris Baker, News Radio 1110 KFAB.
The world's best bull riders. 1 shot, 8 seconds, no mercy. The rankest bulls in the sport are waiting. This is professional bull riding. Watch it live as we unleash the beast. Today from Florida State University, wholly on Paramount Plus.
Choose Heartland Lawns, Omaha's lawn care experts for lawn care fertilization, for irrigation, landscaping, tree and shrub care, mosquito control, and more. When it comes to lawn care, they know when to come out and what to put down to make your lawn beautiful, healthy, green, and weed-free. All the fertilizer, weed spray, insecticide, it's all included in the program with nothing more to buy. No upsells, no salesman. Just contact Heartland Lawns right here in Omaha since 1990 today at heartlandlawns.com.
Hi, this is Jack with Dogwatch. Nothing ruins a warm day more than chasing your dog around your neighborhood. With Dogwatch, your dog stays safe and your yard stays beautiful. Call today for a free quote and give your dog the freedom they deserve. Check us out online at dogwatchomaha.com.
Making it easier at a difficult time. That's the mission, the number one North Star, I think you could say, for Heapy, Hoffman, Dwarick, and Cutler. mortuaries and crematory. Gary Saddlemeyer here for Heaphy, Hoffman, Dwarick, and Cutler. Boy, they're so good, and they will ease the way for you with tremendous compassion and professionalism. If you'd like to look at advanced planning, they're great at that too. You can check that out easily. Give them a call or go online at heaphyheaphy.com.
We all dream about retirement, about having a comfortable retirement. The problem is, we're just not sure how to make it happen. Join us for Smart Retirement Strategies with Mike Reedmiller every Sunday morning at 5:30 on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
From the A1 United Heating, Air, and Electrical Time Saver Traffic Center, here's a look at your roads.
And we roll out on the Friday afternoon drive heading into the weekend, and we're looking pretty good. Do have a little bit of a bunch up westbound on Dodge coming out of the 680 interchange, but that's typical for us. Right now we're wide open westbound I-80 from the JFK over to 680. Don't have any accidents working. That's a look at traffic. I'm Steve Parker.
This report is sponsored by Pyramid Contractors.
Elevate your home's value with Pyramid Contractors, your trusted family-owned experts in roofing, siding, gutters, and windows. Serving Omaha, Lincoln, and Council Bluffs, we deliver premium quality backed by a 5-year craftsmanship warranty. Visit PyramidRoof.com for your free quote today.
Do you want to hear Omaha happenings and news with a fun and random twist? Well, look no further. Listen and subscribe to the Emery Sauger podcast on the iHeartRadio app.
Good afternoon, Chris Baker, Program News Radio 1110. KFAB, Trevor Thrasher is in studio with us. We've been talking a lot about security and determination, and I wanted to get into something with you, Trevor, and that is targets. And I'm concerned. I have friends I work with at the courthouse on the weekends. They do church security. What's your thoughts on the current status of church security or the needs?
Well, I say, number one, everybody needs to be prepared, but definitely some people more than others. And since you're signaling a virtue that's in opposition to some of their virtues, virtue sign to you is an attack signal to somebody else. And we've seen 3 major attacks against churches in Michigan just within the last 12 months, probably less than that. And the security teams have actioned those attacks generally pretty well. And there are quite a few church teams, even in the local area here. We obviously train them. It's 88 Tactical. My good friend Devin Crinklaw trains them, and his company is called In Extremis Tactical. And he's done a lot of that as a police officer and just privately. So, yeah, you've got to be a little more prepared. If you have a large number of people to look after, you've got to kind of be your own police force. So the synagogue that was attacked is one of the largest ones in the nation. I think there were something like 15,000 people that belong to that. And so, yeah, you've got to be your own first responders, because by the time the police get there, most events are over with. And a lot of people don't understand when it comes to active threat events, the majority of active threat events are over with before the police arrive. And that's about a 5-minute time frame.
We had a story earlier this week about John Lott did a study, and it showed that civilians are the ones who stop mass shootings quicker. And it's not because civilians somehow are getting some kind of magic training, but it's because they're right there and ready to go.
Well, you're the first responder, right? Mm-hmm. And in the police world, it's always, victims go to the ambulance. They're the losers who go to the ambulance, and the winners, the criminals, go to jail. So you are the first responder, the first person that gets a chance to influence that. And when they do gather statistics by the FBI, it's hard for them. They don't really have a comprehensive way to say, oh, this would have been an active attack if they had let it go versus not be an active attack. So when Lott looked at it, he figured out that the FBI was not counting a lot of events where they were stopped so quickly, they never really hit the radar for active events. So 100%. And again, recent cases, the church group here, rapidly took out this attacker. And I warned about, vehicle attacks and improvised weapons, IEDs, everything else, just to be on the lookout for attackers with weapons. They resolved that very, very quickly. And the ROTC students, again, resolved that very, very quickly. And It would be much worse if people have a victim-based mindset.
And vehicles.
Vehicle attacks are the worst.
Vehicle attacks, vehicles are not something that I would have thought of,
Well, I'm glad people are talking less about guns being the problem because, when we were kids, if it was hunting season, kids brought guns to school. So there was a greater opportunity for bringing guns into schools and other places. When we were younger, and the laws were much less harsh back then when it came to gun possession. So it's easier for people to possess guns. So the weapon's not the problem. Vehicle attacks are the highest casualty-producing attacks out. As far as the number of people you can injure and kill in the shortest amount of time, and I talked a little bit about it earlier, ISIS actually puts out a monthly magazine, if you will. And one of their articles was how to conduct vehicle attacks, basically to kill as many infidels as you can. And they said use large trucks with high ground clearance and lots of horsepower. And here are the type of events you target. Probably St. Patrick's Day, I hate to say it, might be on there. Anywhere where you're going to get, family. It's not so much of a family affair short of parades. So they're dedicated to doing it, and the tools are everywhere. It isn't about gun control whatsoever.
Yeah, wow. Trevor Thrasher, our guest in our moments. Just as a warfighter yourself, how do you size up this whole venture in Iraq?
I'm really kind of uncertain right now. I'm not entirely sure of what the intelligence is that drove the decision. I know long-term, Iran has been an influence in a lot of my operations in special forces and otherwise. So they clearly have been trying to influence the area, and they've certainly contributed to the deaths of lots of American soldiers. I just, question the timing right now, what the intel is. And I would just tell people, be careful about the news items you hear, things like this assassination attempt on Trump. If you really dig into the details, like the media will make a big deal out of these things because they're told to make a big deal out of these things. So people are going to try to basically influence you with information operations within the U.S. to either support or be opposed to these. So just don't trust anyone, do your own research on it.
Yeah. It's just like we had a story earlier in the week saying that Iran was going to launch a drone attack on L.A., and then a few days later, the White House is going, why are you telling people that?
Yeah, you can see
that's
things
not happening.
Selective leakage of certain stories at certain times, pro or against it. So it's all about tribalism now, not truth. Do your own research.
There you go. All right, Trevor, always a pleasure. And we'll talk to you again soon. As always, it's the Chris Baker Show. Go check out Trevor's website, ThreatProofLife.com. That's ThreatProofLife.com. And we'll post this entire interview up on the podcast so that you can listen to it over and over and even play it backwards and see if we're giving satanic messages.
At Methodist, we're redefining medicine with care that's both personal and precise, and health that's both restored and understood. The highest level of innovation, the deepest level of compassion. That's the meaning of care.
In a world where Wi-Fi battles rage and bandwidth is never enough, one family dares to connect it all. Work from home, influence all day, stream all night, and game to win. Deadlines, downloads, and dance-offs, all happening under one roof, flawlessly. Can your internet provider do that? Fiber fuel your household at allofiber.com/all-in.